What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Loading Up Podcast. I'm your host, Producer Jay, along with my co-host, Brother Zay.
Hey, what's going on?
And I would say my other co-host is here, but he's not. Something came up, it's not there, he's not able to do it today, but hopefully he'll be back next week. But Either way, we'll be chugging along because we got a few news stories. How you been, though?
Me? I've been great, man. I've been all right, finishing games, playing games.
I wish I knew that was like...
No, you won't know. It's okay. No.
I'm still freaking chugging along at Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, my God.
I know. It's so bad.
Oh, man. So,
Go ahead.
I just beat, because Shadow Warriors 3 dropped like a week and a half ago. I beat Shadow Warriors 3.
Okay.
It was fun. It was just
not for nothing
action fun.
So last week when we recorded the episode, I hadn't recorded the gameplay for it, and you told me Shadow Warriors 3, and I was like, okay, that's recent or whatever. Yeah. So I loaded it up, I started playing it, and like I recorded it, and I kept playing it, and I was like, yo, this is actually really fun.
It's just fun. That's all it is. It's just
it got
hack
me
and slash fun.
Yeah, it's just mindless. It reminded me of Doom, honestly.
Yes. Yeah, yes, exactly.
It was so fun. And I think I don't know if it's by the developers, but it's from the people who made they made Duke Nukem.
Okay,
it's
that makes
3D
sense.
Realms, but I don't know if it was actually 3D Realms who made Shadow Warrior 3, but they made the first two, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, what I was going to say is that I enjoyed it so much, and I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing, that I actually went and bought the first two. And I started playing the first one, and geez, it's dated. Like,
yeah, no, the first one is a little dated, but it was still good.
It's still fun to play. Like I just started it. I mean, once I finish Hi-Fi Rush, maybe I'll join it. I'll jump back into it. But it looks like a PS2 game, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it came out in 2013.
Yeah, it came out the year that the PS4 and Xbox One came out. So.
Yeah, so it's older, because Shadow Warriors 3 came out Shadow Warriors 2, came out in 2016, 3 years later.
Yeah,
well, I didn't enjoy Shadow Warriors 2 that much. They tried to do like the whole story, open world, go pick up a quest and do things, and it just didn't sit right. So when I tried Shadow Warriors 3 and I saw what it was, and I was like, man, this is great. It's a linear story.
Right.
You're going out there, with your sword and your guns, and you're just hacking, slashing these ancient monsters and fighting a dragon. It was great. It was like, man, this is fun.
Yeah, no, it is fun. It's just mindless fun. And I feel like more games need to like realize that not everything needs to be freaking open world, complex RPG. Like, it's okay to be a simple, like, linear game.
Yeah, and that's what this was. It was a fun linear game. And let me tell you, the graphics, it was amazing. The graphics. Even in gameplay, you put on performance mode with like no camera shake. It was great.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I can't wait to get back into it because it was just pure fun. Like, that's what it was. And I miss those days, those games like that where you just pop in and just have a good time. Like, you don't really got to think about it.
Yes, I see, exactly.
But
I put it on and I was just like, I ended up beating it. I was like, holy crap, I just beat the game. And I looked at the achievements. I only have like 2 more achievements to get. And I'm like,
oh, damn.
Did I really just almost 100% this? Like, what the heck?
By accident.
Yeah, it was that good.
Speaking of fun games to play, let's talk about the antithesis of that, which is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. That game, I've never experienced such frustration. I played every Dark Souls game. I played a little bit of Bloodborne. I've never been this frustrated at this game. At a game. It's so just hard. And I think what doesn't help is that it just kind of throws you into the world. And they give you a little bit of a tutorial, but it's mostly just about like the HUD and just like different elements and stuff like that. Like, they don't tell you how to like properly parry. They just say, this is parry. And then you just press it when they attack you. That's it. It doesn't it doesn't tell you like how to perfect it, what to look out for or anything like that. They just, here it is. And it's just bare minimum. And then I found out recently, like after the fact, after I stopped playing, that there is a tutorial, but it's optional. I'm like, why would you
Yeah.
make the tutorial optional? That
Yeah, you have
makes
to go to the
no sense.
flag. You have to travel to the training session. Yeah.
Yeah, like why would you
Yeah.
do that? Make it
Like,
part of the game.
you know, I think you were too frustrated because the game tells you that you can do this.
That
You
I
know,
don't know. No,
I mean,
I
you had to have died a few times from the first boss, but they do tell you, hey, maybe you should go do the tutorial.
I was so frustrated. I just kept clicking A, and I was just like, let me just cut dragon, and it
Yeah,
probably showed up in the gameplay. I don't
it
know,
did.
but and I just skipped it. But yeah, no, that game is so freaking frustrating. And I remember I was listening to the Kind of Funny Xcast where they were reviewing the game, and
Uh-huh.
they basically kind of said it as much that throughout the regular gameplay is it's fine, like it's kind of easy, like it's not too difficult. Like yeah, there's some harder enemies, but it's not too bad. But once you get to the bosses, it kind of like spikes, and it's just like everything that you did going leading up to it, like throw it out the window because it's not gonna matter, and you're gonna have to like figure something else out because it's like a completely different ball game when you get to a boss fight. And it's just like the first boss. Like literally, I looked it up, and there were videos on how to beat the first boss just because it was so difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
It
I
it's
mean,
yeah
there've been videos that we even shared on our socials and like how to help you beat the boss and stuff like that because the first boss really they do not toss you a bone at all. They just toss
Mm-mm.
you into the wilderness and they go try and beat them. But I think people need to understand like it is hard like a Souls game. You do need to level up and just go around the area, keep fighting everything, level up your character and go in there and learn that parry mechanic because in Wulong you have to parry
Yeah,
because when you parry they're like big main attacks you can do a critical attack and take like 25 to 30% of their health down, and if they're a
yeah,
smaller enemy you could kill them outright. So the parry is like critical for Wulong, and once you learn that mechanic, you're golden. Because
yeah.
like we talked about off podcast, like I went back after leveling up and I felt like I could beat him, even though I did end up dying. I was like, okay, I know I can do this now. You know, I gotta time those parries right. So I was still having fun, even though I was immensely frustrated with the game.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I I rage quitted. After I was done, I recorded the gameplay. I said, I'm never playing this game again. And I literally I uninstalled it because I was so frustrated. And then like today, because well, not today, like yesterday, I reinstalled it. I was like, maybe I was too harsh on the game. Maybe I was just really angry. So I reinstalled it. Maybe I'll get back to it one day. But it's yeah, I feel like they should have first of all, they shouldn't have put I mean, spoilers, this is the beginning of the game. Like there's not really much spoilers.
Yeah.
Um they shouldn't have put a two-phased boss as the first boss. Like I feel like that's kind of like maybe second boss. Like the first boss should be like not the palate cleanser, but just like getting you a taste of what these bosses are like, and
No.
then you start introducing more like different aspects of boss battles. But like they just threw you like a really hard boss right at the get go, and I'm just like, and then
Yeah.
I also don't like that you have to go back and basically grind. Like I feel
Yeah.
like that's like tedious. Like I shouldn't have to, especially right at the beginning.
I
But
mean, you have to level up. You have to be a certain level, you know? I get it. You don't want to go and grind. It's
because
not
then
that much of a grind because I was doing it in like 10 minutes. I went from a level 7 to 11. So it's not that much of a grind, especially if you're not getting hit and you're parrying. You level up quick.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like this should have been the second level. Maybe not the first level, maybe the second level. Because the
Listen,
first level is the introduction. You need to have at least a little bit more leeway when it comes to that.
no, they throw you to the wolves because they know the game is hard. So they're like, this is what it's like. Get good.
Get good, okay, I guess. Sure. Also, speaking of, I mean, I guess all So we were talking about off screen right before we started about because I felt like there was one more news
Yeah.
item that I was thinking of. Elden Ring, they just announced the DLC
Yes.
was the
Yes.
Shadows of the Erd Tree. So
Shadows
like
of the
I'm
Erd
hyped
Tree.
for that.
And it literally came out of nowhere. It was like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and the developers on the Twitter page just put up a post, and people were like, "Wait, what? Well, why did you just announce this at like 3 o'clock in the morning?"
Wait, hold
And
on. I think when did the Horizon VR game came out that same day, didn't it?
oh no,
The Elden Ring outshot or overshadowed Horizon yet again.
oh no.
Oh my
It is the
God.
curse. It is the Horizon curse. That's what
Horizon
people are calling it, the Horizon curse,
Horizon could
because
just never have a chance to
it just
shine.
can't. It just can't. No, Alloy is in the dumps right now. Wow.
Yeah. It's
That's crazy, because that was just an announcement that was in development. There is
right?
no DLC. You're just announcing that
Yeah.
we're in the development stage of a DLC.
They
And
didn't even announce a date.
no, nothing, nothing. And people are just super hype. I mean, as they should be, but still, that's sad.
Yeah. But anyway, we could get right to the other news items that we had. I
Yeah.
just remembered it right now and I was just like, let me
I'm
just say
glad you
it.
did. I'm glad you did. Yeah, nah. I'm glad you did. So we'll just get more to some new release announces. Like literally 2 hours ago, at the Dragon Ball Fighter Z World Tour 2022-2023 finals, they were doing the finals, and then out of nowhere they just released a trailer for a new game for I was just like, wait, what? They released it everywhere. It's Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi, and there's no official name for it. They don't know if it's Budokai Tenkaichi 4 or if it's just like a remake.
I would say it's either 4 or just the next game.
Yeah, just the next one.
Because they showed all the games and then they showed Goku turning Super Saiyan Blue, which
Super Saiyan
kind
Blue,
of
yeah.
means like this is okay, now this is a new one because it's super stuff.
It's super, yeah, it
And
has super stuff, yeah.
yeah, so when I saw that, I thought it was a prank because I was just like random, like what Tenkaichi? I haven't heard that in decades. Like it's been so long, and I looked at the trailer and it wasn't a joke. Like it was
No.
the real deal, and I got so nostalgic. I rarely get nostalgic for things, just because like I try to manage my expectations for things because a lot of people tend to get nostalgic and they get like they tend to over hype things that they grew up with and stuff like that, but this hits me on a different level. Like I spent so much time playing the Tenkaichi games.
Oh, for real, for
It
a
was
fact.
it was so great and I'm so hyped. I hope it's good and I hope they do the story well because I remember what was it? I think it was 2, where because you mentioned when we were talking about it on the
Yeah,
chat that it was Tenkaichi 3. They did
I think
like
it was 3.
was it 3? They did like the boards. I remember
Yeah.
that,
I
but
don't know. I did not like that.
no, I feel like I don't like that either. I don't remember playing it though. I remember seeing it and I was just like, oh.
Yeah, no, I played it and I didn't enjoy as much as I enjoyed the first Budokai Tenkaichi. You know, I feel like if it goes back to the roots, it will be good. It'll be great even, you know, especially
Yeah.
with the technology that they have today with next gen and
Yeah.
stuff. It will be
And
great.
they got plenty of story to tell. Now they got Super, and the great thing is that the Tenkaichi games always they considered the movies as part of the story. Cuz I know the movies aren't canon, quote unquote. So they were kind of like just offshoots or whatever. Like yeah, they're there for you to watch, but like usually in like the games they never really acknowledge them. But
Yeah.
Tenkaichi they did. Like all those characters like Cooler, the original Broly, all that stuff like that's canon. Android 13 was it?
Yeah, so is it the Super Saiyan 4 that they did as well?
Yeah, Super Saiyan 4 like
Yeah.
that's GT, which
Yeah.
usually doesn't get acknowledged. Now it is.
doesn't. No, it
So,
doesn't get acknowledged.
so I
No.
hope they got plenty of stuff to work with, and I hope it's. I'm just excited, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I have faith that it'll be good. Because even the last game, Kakarot, was really good.
Yes.
I didn't get to play on the next gen version. I got to play on my Series X, but it was when it first came out. It didn't have the updates or anything, but it was still really nostalgic, really good to relive the story and play as Goku. It was awesome. So I'm just looking forward to this because I know it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Another great news. So on the first-person shooter side of the gaming spectrum, we have announced for Counter-Strike 2, reportedly from insider Richard Lewis, who's an esports journalist. He reported that Counter-Strike 2 is in development at Valve, and they're due to launch a beta later this month.
That's pretty big because Valve rarely makes shit. So the fact that they're making another game for something is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I never really got into Counter-Strike. I tried it, but like I got into it like late, and it's one of those games that you got to be there from the jump because the people who like dedicate their freaking life to this, like they're gonna eat you alive.
Definitely a big skill gap there.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely big.
But it's good news for them though.
Not just for just the esports in general, for first person shooters. We need something new, something that can change the game, change how things work, because between Call of Duty, they now have Valorant, things are starting to be stale. The streamers in general starting to have like game fatigue. So the news of Counter-Strike 2 has the esports world a little excited for what's gonna come. So I really do hope that Counter-Strike 2 lives up to the hype, because we all know Counter-Strike, the first one, it's an old game. It's very dated, so let's see how well it looks, how it plays, and how it's going to change the esports community.
Yeah. I mean, it's because a lot of times with the like esports, they take that shit very seriously.
Oh yeah.
So it needs to like hit. It can't like beat around the bush. It can't be like a cash grab because then like they'll just drop it instantly. So they need to be, if they're gonna make a sequel, they need to have like a reason to make a sequel. So there needs to be enough there to warrant, getting hype for it. And also, it's also funny that Valve is sticking to their tradition of never making a third game of things. They're making Counter-Strike 2.
Oh no, let's not get into that one.
Yeah, no, that's a whole nother can of worms.
Definitely. Oh, that's funny. But let's hope they announced for Counter-Strike 2 that they're going to have better tick servers, better, just everything's gonna be better. They're gonna have a new matchmaking system and everything. They did say that the matchmaking system won't be available during the beta when it launches, but that they're working on it to make it what it is for when the game is released. So it's gonna be interesting to see later this month how that plays and works out for everybody. I know it's gonna be one hell of a day when that beta launches.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're gonna get more into some PC Game Pass news. Microsoft is going to open up Game Pass to an additional 40 countries. So that's a total now that we have 86 countries where players can join Game Pass and play games on Game Pass, which is a huge news. Huge news. The more people that can access Game Pass, the more people can play and enjoy games at a cheaper price, because as we know, different markets have different price range for games. It's really expensive outside of the US. If you go to Canada, Brazil, Australia, you're paying $120 sometimes for a game.
Right.
So the idea of having Game Pass where they can just subscribe to the Game Pass service and have hundreds of games at their disposal, It's great. 40 new markets. And it's expanding to many different continents. You have more countries in Europe, North Africa, the Middle East, including Croatia, Ireland, Libya, Qatar, and the Ukraine. It's going to be a lot of people that are going to have access to so many more games coming.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that a lot of people don't really understand is that a lot of the countries outside of the US, they can't exactly afford so many games at once.
Yeah.
So a Game Pass type service is like a freaking godsend for them because I can't imagine if I'm in like not to like discriminate upon like those countries or anything, but if I'm like struggling financially, I want a service like this so that way I can still enjoy the games that I like to play instead of like one or two a year, like most people would do.
Absolutely.
So the Game Pass being available, especially PC Game Pass, because I feel like for whatever reason, I feel like PC is more accessible than some consoles. Doesn't really make sense to me, but a lot of these countries play PC games more than consoles. So it makes more sense to make that available to them. And I feel like this is only a good thing. So I hope it continues to expand to these places because we all love to play games, and it's a better world when we get more access to them.
Absolutely. Just like you said, just being able to afford a game in some countries. I have friends who are on Xbox who are from Canada, and we're always talking about, oh, hey, let's all get this game, and they're like, nah, I really can't get this game. It's like $130. We're like, what?
Yeah.
We're complaining about the $70 game price, and they're paying 120, 130 for their game. So
Yeah.
Them having access to this is really good.
Absolutely. So let's keep it up, my Xbox.
Definitely. And let's also not do just PC Game Pass.
Yes.
Make it available for everything. If they have, because it doesn't just have to be PC Game Pass. You could play games, your Game Pass games on your tablets, on your phones.
Right.
So
I assume that's like the next thing.
yeah, definitely. And then speaking of PC Game Pass, as you know, they're bringing more countries available to do the Game Pass family plan.
Right.
Now there's no set price for the Western countries, so for like Europe or England or United States, there's no set price for it. But you can have 5 accounts for the family plan. So even if it's at $30 or $40 for Game Pass Ultimate for 5 accounts, that's only $8 per person if you split it between 5 friends. That's cheaper than Game Pass itself,
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that because we can split the costs between friends, family, as long as they're in the same country. I feel like that is the right way to go.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like honestly, they should somehow figure out a way to make xCloud its own service. Like, yeah, I know it's bundled in with like Game Pass Ultimate, and like that's the main thing that Xbox wants you to subscribe to. But I feel like xCloud is kind of starting to get its own legs, and it's becoming more accessible to play on xCloud. Whereas not everybody can afford a console or even a PC. Like they have a phone though, so I feel like if they can somehow figure that part out, then I think that'll be the best option.
Well, I think what they're waiting for is for the Activision Blizzard deal to go through because, as you know, they'll get King, and
That's true.
that's their ticket into the mobile market. So I think they may be waiting for that to start doing just xCloud by themselves.
Yeah.
So let's see, because the possibility with this merger, let's say if it does go through, possibilities are endless for growth with Xbox Game Pass in general.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
Definitely. So we'll move right along. We have some news about the developers of Forspoken, Luminous Productions, is sort of just dissolving itself and merging with Square Enix. And they announced a few days ago that they are closing down and joining Square Enix, and they will continue to work on Forspoken. They has came out and said that they are going to continue supporting the game no matter what. Even Square Enix said that they will allow everything to just continue on. They're just sort of like merging together, and it should be easy for them because I was looking this up, and they actually work in the same building, just like a couple floors away from each other.
Oh.
So like they literally just have to like move upstairs to the Square Enix office, you know. So just take some desks and some chairs, put them in the elevator, and there you go. Your move is done. But it also comes with some bad sides. There was actually a report. I don't know his exact. I don't know his name. I wish I remembered his name. Of Square Enix, the president is actually stepping down.
Really?
And yes,
Okay.
yes. And I was wondering they didn't. They're Asian cultures in general are very closed off, very private. So they didn't mention exactly why he's stepping down. But that news broke after Luminous Productions is merging with Square Enix. So I'm wondering, does it have to do with the merger for this company? Does it have to do with Forspoken and just Final Fantasy itself being sort of exclusive to PlayStation now? They're not making as much as we know. They sold off a lot of assets in the last couple of years to
Yeah.
try and consolidate their business because they're not doing as well as they hoped. So I'm wondering what led to that decision because they didn't really announce it, and I'm wondering if it has to do with anything with the deals that Sony and Square Enix have in place for their sort of exclusivity.
Well, I forgot when it was. There was an interview with I guess now the former president, um where basically he was saying that in no specific terms that they kind of regret taking the Sony deal because they see the value in releasing on multiple platforms, and they want to do that going forward in the future, but because of certain deals that they already have signed, they can't do that. So I
Yeah.
think now with the new president, they're kind of they might take that a little more step further and kind of maybe not distant themselves because they'll probably take marketing deals from Sony or whatever. But I think the whole exclusivity thing that they have going on with Sony is probably going to come to an end very soon.
I mean, who knows? Even with this news, they'll maybe Sony, after, let's say the acquisition goes through from Microsoft, Blizzard's, Activision goes through. Let's say all that goes through. Maybe Sony responds by just acquiring Square Enix. They've been selling off left and right. They're already heavily partnered with Square Enix and Sony. So who's to say maybe they just become part of Sony?
I mean, that could also be a possibility, just with, like you said, the whole acquisition stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if that were to happen, it's probably gonna be a ways off, just because if they were to even announce such a thing, it kind of hurts their case for the Activision stuff. So I don't
Mm.
think
Oh
they'd
no, they're definitely
wanna.
gonna wait until after the whole Activision
Yeah,
Blizzard King deal's done.
yeah. They will wait. They'll bide their time. But I think it is a possibility. But honestly, like, I don't care. Like, there's not a lot of Square Enix games that I play, or that I'm even excited about. Like, the only one literally is Kingdom Hearts. That's it. It used to be also Tomb Raider, but they sold that off, so I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if Sony acquires Square Enix, then it really doesn't change anything from my perspective. I have a PS5, so I can still play them, but
Yeah.
it's not like I am fiending for Square Enix games.
Yeah. I mean, I think the hype died down a lot when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out. Everybody was super hyped about it. It was great. People were playing it and discussing it, and it came out to great reviews. But it's been what, 2 years, and we haven't even heard a peep about the second part. You
Yeah.
know, I think people just sort of forgot about it. At this point, because what are they? what are they gonna do to bring our interest back to their franchise that they control? Why haven't they talked about it? Why haven't they released anything about it? What's going on? We all we heard was about Final Fantasy 16 coming out. We all know that that's gonna be a PS5 exclusive, at least for the first 6 months, and then maybe it will go to PC. But even the developers of, Final Fantasy 16, they came out, they said, if you want to play the game, just buy a PS5.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, I mean, I don't know. I just think a lot of it's mostly just the whole, and I hate to like take it there, but I've noticed it a lot in like business, and it's a Japan thing. Like Japanese companies do business very personally. Like
yeah,
they don't really take into account like how well, maybe that's like a traditional thing, like an old business type thing, but like they will avoid American audiences, Western audiences altogether, and they'll focus on Japanese stuff. And it's just how they run businesses over there. Granted, not every studio is like that. More studios are trying to branch out. They're trying to appeal to more Western audiences, and maybe that's what's gonna happen now that there's a new president. But yeah, we'll see how this plays out and what changes actually happen.
definitely. I mean, I don't know if we'll see much more news, and at least until after August, once this whole ABK
Yeah,
deal goes away,
right.
So we'll just keep an eye on it and report back when we get more updates, because it's interesting, but also like all these acquisitions and mergers, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot to deal with. We're gonna just keep going on with some kind of upsetting news. Baton Rouge Studios decimated in a shocking announcement because Electronic Arts (EA) has reportedly fired the testing team for its blockbuster hero shooter Apex Legends. So it's a publisher. The publisher released the entirety of its Baton Rouge-based testing team. So everybody, all 200 workers, were fired out of the blue on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting because like that's the whole team. Everybody out there in Louisiana just completely fired out of nowhere. They didn't see it coming at all, and it's just they're wondering what's going on. What happened? What is going through the minds of the executives at EA for them to just fire 200 people
It,
with no explanation, no
it's
thoughts of them at all.
it's part of the whole, like, what is that, the tech, what, I forgot what they called it, but like there's been like a mass layoff in like all of tech
Yeah,
this year, in the past few months, that there's no rhyme or reason. It's just they gotta make the budget, they gotta make get in the black or whatever the case is. Like they need to make sure that they are being financially, I don't know what's the word, but they're trying to make or balance their budget, I guess, whatever. And unfortunately, this, like, they always usually go for the lower ring people first, and playtesters are, they're essential, but it's like a lot of these games, even with playtesting, still end up like not being good. So it's like,
yeah,
I
not
guess
ready
from,
enough.
yeah, I guess from their perspective, they're just like, why are we paying you guys if we're still if these games are still bad? Although that's on the studio and the publisher, not the playtesters, but it's also EA, so
Yeah,
you can't really like put a reasoning or a reasonable spin on it. But it sucks, and it's just unfortunate that these people now they have to find out the way they did through the
yeah.
Zoom call.
The Zoom call.
Yeah, it's
It
bad.
was even worse because like none of the leaders or supervisors they didn't even know at all. They were a part of the same crew, and they're like, wait, what? Nobody told us anything. Like
Yeah,
even the management and they did had no idea. It was literally just a complete and total surprise, which it just really sucks. People
yeah.
losing anybody losing their job just randomly out of nowhere, and you're talking about a whole team in one particular city, and it's just like, well, why them? What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, I wish there was some transparency at least, because it's never a good thing to like let somebody go, but you could do the decency to tell them why.
Mm.
Because like even if like in a regular job you get let go, they usually tell you why, or if you ask, they'll tell you why. It's not like you just go and be like, "Hey, why was I fired?" It'd be like, I don't know, but good luck.
That's true. Yeah, it's sad but true. It's crazy.
That sucks, and nobody wants that. At least tell them why.
Yeah. I mean, they're giving them BS excuses, because I was reading some of the tweets on it from the article from Destructoid that they posted. So somebody posted that the BS made up reason EA is telling folks on Zoom is that the Q&A testers doesn't currently reflect their demographics.
What?
Exactly.
What does that even mean?
Exactly.
Oh
Nobody even knows. And it doesn't make sense because, in Baton Rouge, the majority of the workers are in a predominantly black city, where likely has more black workers. So what do you mean it doesn't reflect their demographics?
Yeah,
what are they putting out there?
Yeah, that sounds freaking racially motivated if that's the case. Like,
that's what people were thinking.
Oh
that's what
man,
people were thinking.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that.
Exactly. So that's the other side of it. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah, no, that makes it worse.
Exactly. That's why I was like, we got to talk about this, because the people down in Baton Rouge, they don't deserve that. I'm pretty sure they're hard workers. They're out there testing a live service game that's going on today, where people are still playing it. They're testing all the new updates and all the new features and characters and everything like that from the studio, and then they just come across this news. It's messed up.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they'll land on their feet. I mean, there's plenty of other opportunities within the gaming industry, especially for play testers. So, we'll see how that plays out. I just, best wishes to them.
Definitely. All right, so we're gonna continue right on, because we have some PlayStation Showcase news. So, as the industry insider Jeff Grubb, he spoke on a Game Mess podcast, stating that he has news of a showcase coming out for Sony, especially after the State of Play. The State of Play was more for third parties and multi-plats to showcase their games with the PlayStation titles, in the background. But this new showcase that the Jeff Grubb is speaking of is going to show more first-party games coming from Sony. And I think that's what Sony needs right now. It's after Ragnarok, they sort of like peaked with Ragnarok, and it's like now they're silent. I don't know what's going on. We want to know more, what else is coming. We know Spider-Man 2 is coming out this year, but we don't have an official date of exactly what day it's dropping. And we know for next year we have Wolverine, but that's pretty much it, So this showcase is supposed to highlight the second phase of the PS5 life cycle, and to hopefully bring some hype to what is mostly a very calm generation for Sony.
Right. Honestly, it's very unusual, just because Sony is usually the one who has a lot to announce, and they do it at a pace where they're constantly announcing stuff. Granted, it can be very early sometimes, because I feel like every big exclusive game they have, it's announced like 2 or 3 years before it actually comes out. So it's very weird that they have nothing. And granted, a lot of people assume it's because of the Activision deal. They don't want to tip the scales in Xbox's favor to kind of like prove their point that Sony has plenty of games. They don't need Call of Duty. But still, they have a business to run. They still need to sell consoles. And I know they've sold, what was it, like 30 million at this point? But they need more. It's not like they can just stop and just chill for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think they do have a lot to announce, and we'll see what comes of it, when it's gonna happen. Because there's another thing is that all of last year there were rumors that there was gonna be a state of play. Oh, there was gonna be a summer state of play. There was gonna be
Yeah.
an early fall state of play. There was gonna be one in December, November. Every month there was always a rumor of state of play, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I trust Jeff Grubb more than I do a lot of these other so-called insiders, because I've noticed that Sony, for everything that I talk bad about them about, uh, as a business, they keep their like stuff close to their chest. Like they
Yeah.
do not let things leak, and that's very commendable of them, because I feel like everything gets leaked. But Sony does a very good job at not leaking stuff. So if Jeff Grubb says it and he has on good authority of it, then I'm gonna take him at his word, because I feel like he has a better track record than people give him credit for, and we'll see. I mean, they said it was gonna be like a summer showcase, right?
Well, they didn't say exactly when. They did say before E3. So before the official E3 showcase, that this Sony showcase will,
Okay,
they'll be doing a Sony showcase.
then
So it's got to be around that time, because
yeah,
we all know Sony's not gonna be at E3. Neither is Xbox or Nintendo. They're all gonna do like their own thing. So it's gonna be sometime summertime.
yeah. I if I had to guess, it would probably be the week before E3, because I forgot maybe it was EA, because they do like the EA Play thing.
Yeah.
Where they do their own thing right beforehand, so that way they have all the attention, and then E3 happens, and then that's when, everybody focuses on the E3 stuff. But if I had to guess, I probably would say the week before E3 would be best.
And that's kind of like, I mean, they're saying that it's supposed to happen in June. E3 particularly, it's supposed to happen in June, right? The
Mm-hmm.
weekend of June 13th. I think, though, if Sony really wants to play their cards right, they'll do a showcase around the time some more Activision Blizzard, King deal, news comes out. That way they're kind of overshadowing it, just in
Honestly, yeah.
case. When it would be smart of Sony to be like, we know that the case is supposed to, officially come toward some sort of agreement or an end around August. Let's shoot for an August showcase to try and quell any fears or from our particular gamers or anything like that. So if I was Sony, I would do that.
Yeah,
You know,
that honestly makes a lot of sense. Like
you know.
once the deal gets approved, because we know it's gonna get approved. Like I feel like there were some kind
We'll
of
talk about it.
okay, we'll talk about it.
Talk
But
about it.
yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I feel like that's their best play, just because they have to kind of calm the waters and kind of,
Yeah.
what is it, damage control.
Damage control.
Make
Yeah.
sure that they say, okay, PlayStation will be okay. Don't worry, we got this.
Exactly. So we'll look forward to a showcase to see what Sony's gonna bring to us, because man, if my son wasn't here playing the PS5, it would just be collecting dust.
Damn.
I mean, I beat their first party games already. It's just like, it's just gonna collect dust. So luckily my son plays it.
They got other games.
I play everything on Xbox.
Yeah, you're right.
That's it. That's all there is. Everything else is on Xbox. So we're gonna get right into some ABK news, right? So it turns out that Sony altogether wanted completely to just shut down the deal. They didn't want it to go to FTC. They wanted it completely blocked. They didn't want any remedies. They didn't want to go to court. They didn't want to show any documents. They just wanted to completely shut it down. And it turned out because in the report, they had to show to the CMAs that you wouldn't have God of War Ragnarok. We wouldn't have Uncharted if it wasn't for Call of Duty. the funding that they get from the Call of Duty sales and everything that they have from Call of Duty funds their first party games. And that is why Sony has been so just gun ho on trying to get this deal completely blocked, because they feel that if they put Call of Duty on Game Pass and or in their own subscription service, Sony's own subscription service, that they won't see as many sales, and then they can't pump out first party content like they used to. And that's a major big hit, you know? It goes to show you that even though these games are huge, some of the best made games, you know, we had Ghost of Tsushima, God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us, all these major games wouldn't happen without the funding from their Call of Duty sales. So it goes to show you, maybe the PlayStation gamers should just get behind their consoles, start buying more of their first party content. Because if it does go through, the Call of Duty will be on PlayStation. Xbox has said that. But if it goes to Game Pass, people will probably want to play it on Game Pass because it's part of the service, and they can get not just Call of Duty, but other games for a low price instead of going on PlayStation and having to pay $70, $70+ for a game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna just be honest. That sounds hilarious. That Sony's saying that they can't make their games without Call of Duty. Like that just sounds so ridiculous. Like I get what they're trying to do. Obviously, it's clear that they're just trying to, and it's what Microsoft is doing as well. They're trying to downplay their success.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's easier for Xbox to do it because they really have, in comparison to PlayStation, it hasn't been really that successful. Like, it's gotten by, it's been more successful than they have been, but it, like I said, in comparison to PlayStation, it's basically nothing. It's in third place. So
yeah, and it's always been in third place.
It's always been in third place. So it's just funny that the idea that Sony can't make their first party games without Call of Duty funding is laughable. But yeah, no, what I find even more funny is that now they kind of have to prove it, because what was it that Xbox they subpoenaed Sony to get the documents for their exclusivity deals, and the FTC ruled in favor of it, or because then Sony wanted to block it. They didn't want they didn't want to give the information.
Yeah, they asked the judge to completely block them from having to bring those documents forward, and the judge was like, no, you must bring the documents forward. And so Xbox sort of won on that front, where they had to show the documents, but Xbox asked for the documents dating back to 2012. But the judge was like, no, that's a bit too much. They got to bring the documents, but from 2019 on, or 2018 on, not from 2012. So they still have to produce the documents of all their exclusivity deals and anything that has to mention Game Pass, Xbox, and deals to keep games on PlayStation only. They will have to produce that, and that's a really big. That's really big.
Yeah, that's gonna be a huge revelation, and it's one that I think Sony does not want to share.
They do not,
which is probably gonna lead to them accepting a deal, because if they really don't want to share their third party exclusives, which is gonna paint them in a negative light, like there's no way around it. Like we know they've paid for exclusives. Whether it's exclusive, like timed exclusives or DLC exclusive, whatever the case may be, they've been on a rampage with that stuff, and they're gonna have to show it. So there's people who are kind of assuming that this could push Sony to just take whatever deals Microsoft is giving them, so that way they don't have to eat crow and basically show how shitty they've been this past generation.
But that's the thing, though. A judge has ordered this already. It is done. They have to show it. It's done. The judge
I feel like I read somewhere that they could get out of it. If they accept the deal and show the judge that they accept the deal, then the judge might accept that. I forgot where I saw that though.
That's the play that Microsoft is hoping to go with, that they can just accept the deal. But the judges already ruled, because they're fighting so hard to try and stop the deal altogether. A judge has already ruled that they have to produce those documents, and the only way not to produce those documents is to sign the deal. But they don't want the deal to go through at all, so they're gonna fight it tooth and nail. The gloves are off. That's it. The Microsoft will see how much money does Sony waste in keeping games off of Xbox and Game Pass, and they will prove to not just the FTC, not just to the judge, to the world, that Sony pays more money to keep games off of Game Pass than they do to just make their own first party games.
Exactly, and that's why the whole idea that Call of Duty is so essential to PlayStation's success. Like, stop paying for these exclusive deals then. Like,
Exactly.
what? You're wasting money on this stuff when that money could be going to your first party stuff. So
Exactly.
it's just like I said, they're gonna eat crow when it comes to this stuff, and it's gonna come to
Definitely.
a head, and I can't wait for it.
Definitely. I mean, the whole notion that you need Call of Duty to survive is silly, because we all know Call of Duty hasn't been on Nintendo for over 10, 15 years now. You know, I
Yeah,
think some of the last Call of Duty on Nintendo was Modern Warfare 2 or 3, and that was on the DS. Not even a home console, it was on the DS.
I thought the
So,
last one was Black Ops 2 on the Wii U.
was it on the Wii U?
I think it was on the Wii U. There was,
I remember on the Wii they had World at War.
yeah,
But I mean that's further back. I don't know exactly which is the last
there
Call
was
of Duty on a Nintendo system.
there was one on the Wii U, and I think that was the last one.
Okay. I mean, if the Wii U can, and that's another thing, if the Wii U can uh power a Call of Duty game, then the Switch, I feel like the Switch is good enough to power a Call of Duty game as well. You
Yeah,
know, because
especially because they still release last gen versions of these games. Like, it's not there, and it would take some configuring, obviously, but
yeah,
if the Switch is more powerful than a Wii U, then it can run it. It would probably just have to be another studio making it.
of
Like,
course.
you can't, like, it'll just be a port, like a unique port. It's not gonna be like exactly 1-to-1, but it'll be 1-to-1 enough where it can be considered like on par with the other two.
Which they'll do. You know, they'll
Yeah,
have a. I'm pretty sure. Let's say the deal does go through, it does get approved. I'm pretty sure Microsoft's gonna be like, all right, this team works on Call of Duty for Nintendo, and everybody else can work on Call of Duty for every other system. Because they need a good, strong team who knows Nintendo, and they're gonna work with Nintendo, and they're gonna make Call of Duty work for Nintendo because they have to. You know, it's gonna be legally binding. You know,
yeah,
uh, because they signed that deal, and it's gonna be set in stone. And they even Microsoft went even as far as to tell the CMAs that they don't have to worry about any remedies, that they don't have to worry about spending time and resources on making sure that Microsoft upholds its end of the deal. Microsoft is going to pay a third party company to make sure that they uphold that end of the deal. That way no resources are coming from governments or regulatory, bodies. So Microsoft is pulling all stops to try and get this deal to go through.
yeah.
They're going far.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope it pays off because they've, like you said, they've been doing a lot and they've been working hard, and they even said that they're willing to take this to court, which
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't go that far, because that just means a whole nother freaking year of this.
Yeah,
Just
a whole nother
constant
year.
back and forth and waiting for judges and hearings, and I
Yeah.
I want it to be done.
You and me both. That's the thing. People were discussing, what happens if the deal doesn't go through. There were rumors on Twitter, on Reddit, saying that if the deal doesn't go through, Microsoft should sell. There was a couple rumors. Microsoft should sell itself. One was to Sony. The other one was just completely divest Xbox and just get rid of the whole system. Another rumor was that it would just completely go away. they'll just get rid of it the way they got rid of the Windows Phone. And there was a lot of rumors going around, and Phil Spencer had to come out and say, this will not hinder Xbox in any way. Xbox will still go forward, and they still exist within the world, even without ABK. So he had to just come out there and make a statement saying that we'll be around, don't worry, this will be fine.
Yeah, it's kind of silly that he even has to say that, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. People are gonna make up their own minds about this deal and what happens after, if it gets blocked or when it passes or whatever. Like, they know what's gonna happen. Xbox knows what's gonna happen, if it passes, if it doesn't, like, and going out of business is not one of them. So just get that out of your mind.
I mean, there was people saying like, oh, if it doesn't go through, Call of Duty can, continue on PlayStation. Call of Duty will continue on PlayStation anyway. But if it doesn't go through, do you really think that the people at Activision, will want to work with Sony and do more deals with them the way they have in the past? No, their reputations are tarnished now. Their friendships and relationships, they're tarnished. They threw them under the bus to try and keep all their deals and their money for Sony.
Yeah,
it's done. It's done. It's never gonna be the same. It just never be the same.
It's one thing, like I mentioned before, like doing business personally. Like if Sony made like some remarks about, like, because they have, about like Bobby Kotick and stuff like that, they've come out against like whatever happened with him and stuff. Yeah. That's one thing. But when you start interrupting their business,
yes,
that's when they're just like, yeah, nah, we cannot associate with each other.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, even if it fails, I strongly assume that Xbox will get the marketing deal back.
Definitely. They're gonna. If it fails, Microsoft has to pay them like $3.5 billion, and of course, Bobby Kotick stays. It's just if it fails, there are a lot of things that are gonna happen that people don't want to happen, especially the workers and all the studios at Activision Blizzard and King. They don't want to stay there. They want, overall majority of workers at all these studios want to merge with Microsoft. They see it as one of the biggest opportunities of the gaming world, and it just makes sense for them to merge so that way they can better their work, their community, their workplace. It would just do good for them. They want this. So Absolutely. They need this. They need this to go through. And the relationships will be completely tarnished if it doesn't go through. And Sony will screw themselves over. And there was even rumors saying that Call of Duty will stop making Call of Duty in general. Like, just not make another title Call of Duty. And that way Sony doesn't get Call of Duty at all. And then just make another exclusive game that will be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem that's almost exactly like Call of Duty, but just without the Call of Duty title. And I'm just like all these things, all these rumors and all these things that need to happen, they just need to stop so that way we can get with the facts, that deal either goes through or it doesn't, so we can move on from this.
Exactly.
And that's it. That's all we got for the news. We always finish with some ABK news. Always.
I know.
yeah. It's like we want to talk about it, but not too much. We want this to be over with and done with. That's it.
Exactly. Like it keeps coming up. It keeps rearing its ugly head, and we gotta talk about it because it's relevant. So
definitely.
Definitely. But anyway, I got a question for you.
Hit me.
So this past week I was thinking about because I talking about making my way through Hi-Fi Rush still, and I really enjoy how each boss battle is very different from the rest. Like they're not the same in any way. Like there's always different mechanics, different gimmicks and stuff like that. I really like that. And it got me thinking. I was just like, what if there was a game? Because like I started thinking about what game I would want to make. Like what would be my dream game? Maybe not my dream game, but what game that I think would be a really good idea. And I feel like if there was a game that could make that, it's kind of like Hi-Fi Rush. It's linear, you go through the level and then you run into a boss. But the boss would be created by a different studio, and each boss would be made by a different studio. Like all the mechanics, all like a different thing, and it'll kind of be like paying homage to like different style of games. So they'll be like one made by like Crystal Dynamics, or one made by the Coalition, one made by like 343, one made by the Hideo Kojima, Kojima Productions, one made like just different like studios can like take like the mechanics of the game and the style, whatever, and then kind of like make their own spin on it, and then be self-referential with like the games that they're famous for, and but like within the context of the game that they're making it for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So sort of like a linear Smash Brothers.
Kind of, yeah. So
You
it'll
know?
kind of be like a guest thing where you can get different developers. So like let's say the first boss battle is done by Kojima Productions, and it'll be kind of like a Metal Gear Solid style boss battle where you gotta like run around, get weapons, shoot at them. Like there's like a big giant monster or whatever, and it'll kind of be like reminiscent of that. You'll have like codec calls, like some stuff that's referencing the stuff that they're known for, but obviously it's not that because they don't own it. But I feel like that would be really cool. And then maybe like the next battle, the next boss battle could be made by Remedy, and they can make like, because you know Control, they have like the psychic abilities. You could throw stuff at it with like psychic. Like I feel like that'll be so cool, and it'll be like really like a celebration of like different genres and different games. And I feel like that would be such a cool, innovative thing. And I don't know who would make it, because obviously you need somebody to make it. But I feel like that would be so cool. And I mean, it will be also expensive because
Yeah, that's a massive undertaking.
Yes, you're also hiring other studios to participate, even though it's just for one boss battle. But I feel like that would be really cool. Like if you took the financial idea aspect of it out, I feel like it would be such a cool concept.
That definitely sounds pretty cool, but it's definitely a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's just something I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
So my question to you is like, is there an idea for a game that you've always thought, yo, why don't they make this?
You'll probably laugh at me. So I remember when I was growing up, I was always in the hospital, and this one particular hospital at Long Island had this little arcade machine. I don't know why, but it had an arcade machine. And it was a dolphin, and you were a dolphin, and it was an actual game. Yes, you were a dolphin. You were swimming around in the ocean as a dolphin. It was great. I loved it. So I want that game. I don't know why, but I want that game because I had fond memories of, because like I said, I was always in the hospital growing up, and that game sort of like helped me through that time. So if I can get that game now, right, where I could swim around the ocean as a dolphin, as a sentient dolphin, you're a dolphin, you're out there swimming, you're doing your dolphin thing out there. It for me is always come back to try and have that game come to life with today's technology, today's gaming style. I want that's my game that I want to be made, because it's not around anymore.
So it would be kind of like just like exploring, like what?
It's all right. So I got the name. It's called Echo the Dolphin.
Oh, I've heard of that. Wasn't
You've
that
heard
for
of
the
that, right?
Dreamcast?
Yes. It was a Sega game.
Okay.
So they had this machine of Echo the Dolphin in the hospital. I have no idea why. Don't even ask me. No idea. But it was like the best thing ever because I would always go to the Echo Dolphin game. So if we can get like Echo the Dolphin again with our new next gen consoles or updated PC graphics and everything, I think that would be something I want to relive, that slither of hope that I had in the hospital playing Echo the Dolphin.
Oh, I'm sure if there's any, if I mean, I feel like if anybody's gonna make it, it's probably Xbox, because I feel like Xbox is kind of the spiritual successor to the Dreamcast. Because in a lot of ways, because like the buttons, and I think there was a while, well, I don't remember, maybe it was like revealed in like a documentary or something, that originally that they wanted the Xbox to be backwards compatible with the Dreamcast. So you could just put in a Dreamcast disc and it'll play it, but they couldn't get like the licensing worked out, so they scrapped it. Yeah. And I think because also Peter, no, not Peter, what's his name? Peter Moore. I was gonna say Peter Molyneux. This is somebody else. Peter Moore, who was the head of Xbox at one point, he was also the head of Sega. And
okay.
Yeah, and I remember he in an interview he said he kind of held a grudge against Sony because they basically put the Dreamcast or Sega in the console business, or out of business, I guess.
Out of business, yeah.
Yeah, so he held a grudge for that, and that's why he joined Xbox. But yeah, no, I feel like a lot of those games, like they don't get enough love, where like those exploration games where you just kind of you just do, like, it's not even like,
I mean, it was sort of like you explore, you can race through the ocean and stuff like that. So it sort of reminded me of like, oh man, what is this game? It's a it's a Xbox exclusive game. I can't. No, it's you're like this little ball, little creature. You're jumping around. I can't. For the life of me, I'm drawing a blank on the game. I played it.
Is it Recore?
Not Recore. It's like this little creature. This little
Ori.
Creature. Ori. There you go.
Okay.
Ori. There you go, Ori. So it reminded me of the mechanics of Ori, where you're just exploring this world that you're in and going through these trials, but as a dolphin. You know, so it reminded me of that. So when I played Echo and then he played Ori, it was like it had these similar aspects to it, and I'm like, I want that today, you know, to relive that moment.
That I feel like that game, that kind of game has a place. I feel like there probably would be something like that if it's not already in development.
Definitely not.
Well,
definitely not.
Well, we'll see. But that'll do it for us. Like this video, subscribe, and had a good time. So follow us on our socials. It's on the screen on YouTube, and if not, then on the audio, it's in the description, in our link tree. That's it, and we'll catch you guys next week. See ya.
Laters.